Hey guys, welcome back to the second part of the calculator video. So in the last part we had built our basic calculator and sorry, just adjusting the mic volume there. And our calculator works, but the problem is it only takes single digits. So as you can see, we can continue adding, but we cannot enter like 12 or 21 here. So now let's take a look how we can add that capability. So main thing you have to understand is that we are copying the digits from the text bar. So all we have to do is make sure the text box that we have in the top captures the second number or any quantity of numbers that we enter. So let's see, we go into the code of the form, and as you can see here we are assigning value 1 when we press plus, so we don't need to do anything here. What we need to do is make some changes here when button 1 is clicked and button 2 is clicked. So what we are going to do is change the text box dot text when every button is clicked, and then have the button plus take in whatever number is available on that text box 1. And it's pretty straightforward to do. So all we need to do is whatever number was there before, we leave it as that. I mean, keep that number there. So we are going to do text box 1.text plus 1. Now we can apply the plus operator to strings, and all we are saying that when button 1 is pressed, whatever is displayed on the text box right there, just keep it as it is there and just add the 1 to the end. So let's just see how this works for button 1. So previously, if you remember, if I press button 1 again, it will go away. Now if I see, button 1 is there, because all we are doing is taking this string here and appending a 1 to the end. Now obviously if you do 2, it's not going to work because we haven't added this code there. So let's go ahead and make the change in the code for text box, button 2. So we just copy this. As I have said before, copying pasting works well while coding. That's it. Now let's see how this works. So I save this here, go to start and say 1 1. Now when I press plus, the value 2 should be taken whatever is in the text box. Actually, let me first go ahead and show it to you. Let's add a breakpoint here, and when we press start, press 1 1 and then go plus, we enter into a breakpoint. Obviously right now value 1 is 0 because this line has not been executed. Now let's go to the next line. Value 1 becomes 11. Previously, if we don't have this line, value 1 will be 1. That's the only value it can have. Alright, let's remove this breakpoint here, and now let's run this. This is 11 plus 2 is equal to 13. It's working. Now let's try, we do need a clear box in that calculator. Let's try 11 plus 22, 33. Now let's try 111 plus 222, 333. And then if we add plus 1, 334 plus 2 is equal to 336. So as you can see, any number of digits are now working. Now we do need a clear button here. So what do we do with a clear button? Clear button should simply clean the values up here, but it should also start our input from the initial stage we were in. So let's see, let's first go ahead and make this button as clear. And just want to change the name of the button. Oh, sorry, this will be button clear. Now when the user clicks on it, obviously first thing we want to do is make that text box, whatever is displayed on the text box, clear it out, right? Because this is how, when we start the calculator, this is how things appear. Then we need to make sure the value 1 and value 2 have values 0. So here we are not assigning 0. Technically we should. So remember, this is the constructor of the form. Again, the form is a class, so I should be setting value 1 is equal to 0 and value 2 is equal to 0 here. Now even if I don't specify it in the constructor, they are assigned a value of 0, because when we declare a private integer variable and we don't initialize it, it automatically gets assigned a value of 0. But I'll go ahead and do that here just to be more clear. And then we need to do the same things here when the user presses the clear button. So let's go and change this value. Now let's run this code and see if our clear button works. So 111 plus 222 is equal to 333. We clear, and now we just press plus. Oh, we had an error because we pressed the plus button even though the value did not have anything. So what we need to do is add a check here. Is not equal to blank, means only do this if value or text box 1 is blank, because otherwise if a user accidentally presses plus, then you will get into this error. Alright, let's see now. Plus 222 is equal to this. Now we press C and then we press plus, nothing should happen, but if you press 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Now let's see, what if we only clean the text box but don't add these, reinitialize these values. So I'm just going to comment this code out. So let's do 1 plus 222 is equal to this, and then if I press plus 2 is equal to, so as you can see it's 335, so it remembers the previous value whatever I have entered even though I press C. So it's very important to clean the values out when the user presses the C button, because the purpose of the C button is to clean everything we have in the memory as well as in the display. So let's see this, we run this again. Plus 222 is equal to 333. I clear everything out. If I press plus, nothing is going to happen, and we actually ran into another error very similar to the last error, because we are checking value from text box even though the text box has no value. And here we need to add the braces because that's not going to work. And adding braces is like a good habit. Sometimes I don't add it if it's only supposed to be in the next line, but you guys please don't do that in your code. Alright, let's run this again. So we have 111 plus 222 is equal to this. We press clear, we press plus and equal, no errors, and as you can see we are pressing equal to, it's not showing any numbers here. Now you can make some changes here that when the user presses equal to, it still shows the last value, but at this time it's okay if we don't even if we don't add that. Now another important thing here, what if you add another operator called minus? Now as you can see here, we are deliberately adding the sum operator, right? Now if we add another operator, let's call it minus. Now I'm not going to fully complete this but give you an idea. minus, and we call it, what did we call this? Button plus, so we'll call this button minus. So when your user presses button plus here, you are doing text box is equal to 1, we are just copying the value, right? Same thing you're going to do in button minus. Where is a button plus? Now let's run this. So we say 2 minus 1, but it's still doing a plus, so what's wrong? So what we need to do here is actually come down to your equal to, and this condition here, the operation that you apply, like we are applying math.sum right now, which was in our C-based math class, this will be based on the button that was pressed for the operator. So if plus was selected, you need to call sum. If minus was selected, you need to call a different function. So first what we need to do is add a minus function here, or let's call it a subtract function, and do return a minus b, and then we need to go back to the form code, and every time plus or minus is pressed, we need to actually store what operation was pressed. So let's call it private string, or you can even use integers here, but so let's call it selected operator, and let's initialize the string. That's always a good habit to initialize your variables. Now when the user presses plus, we need to have selected op is equal to plus, and then now the plus sign is I'm just using for clarity. We don't actually have to use the plus here. This is just signifying that the plus button was pressed. And similarly, oops, I thought I had copied it, minus. Now if we go back to our equal, we are going to say if selected op is equal to plus, then do this. Sorry, you have to use a double equal sign. Remember, in a logical condition, you have to use the double equal sign. Else if, now remember we have done if then else operator in class, and we are using else if else operator with multiple if conditions here. We can also put this in an else statement, because right now we only have two operators, but since we will have more than one operator, and your assignment requires that. Let's give explicit condition if this is equal to minus. Alright, so here we are saying if selected op is equal to plus, then do add the sum. If selected op is equal to minus, then do this, and the selected op is being selected when the plus or minus buttons are pressed. Now if we go, let's do 11 plus 2 is equal to 13, so our plus is working clearly. Now from 13, let's see if we minus 2 is equal to 11, so our minus is also working. So let's clean this out, do a 2 minus 1 is equal to 1. Let's clear this out, do 22 minus 11. That's also equal to 11. Let's do something different now, 22 minus 10. Oh, we don't have 10. I haven't added the 0 digit here, so 22 minus 1 is equal to 21. So both our plus and minus is working. Now another cleanup we can do in the code here, as you can see, when we are pressing plus, this section, this part of the code is common, right? Or even this if else condition. Now we can actually move the selected operator out of the else. They don't have to be here, because even if a text box is blank or not, changing the selected operator will not lead to an error. So let's move that out. And since you are new to C#, it's always a good idea to frequently run your code, even if you make small changes. As you get more experience, you can actually increase the duration when you run the code. So you can make a change in 10-15 lines and then run the code, but for initial purposes, run the code very frequently for any change. Let's see now. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3 minus 2. That should be equal to 1. So our plus minus operator are working as before. And even if you press C, as you can see, plus minus is not leading to a problem. So now we see some commonality here, that this code is being repeated when every button is being pressed. Now repetition in code is not a good habit. So what you should do is create a function. So let's create a private function, because this doesn't need to be called from outside. Let's just call it assign value 1, and just copy this code here. And all you need to do is, apart from the code, just call this function assign to value 1, and we'll do the same thing there when the user presses plus. So as you can see, we have reduced the lines of code, but beyond that, what advantage this gives is the assign to value 1 is in a function, and if you may want to make any logic here or change in the logic here, you just make the change to this function over here without having to change it in multiple places. So remember, in software development, you have to localize your changes. It makes it much more easier to maintain your code long term. The more code you have, the difficult it is to maintain. So your goal should be to reduce the number of code, and one of the ways of doing it that is localizing or having functions for some code that is being repeated multiple number of times. Now let's see if this works. So you add 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So it's working fine. Minus 2, that's equal to 1. Plus 12 is equal to 13. So when we press clean or clear, 1 plus 2, that's equal to 3. So everything seems to be working as before. I'm going to stop the video now and also going to upload this code. In part 3 of the video, I'm going to show you how we can extend the C base math class and add another class that derives from the C base math class and have a little bit more complex function in that advanced math class. So this is also required as part of the assignment, and we'll discuss in the next video. Thank you for watching.